Hello, everyone. This is Bob again, and today I am going to be reviewing a comic that everybody and their sister has already reviewed, and I'm going to do it too because why should everybody else get the chance to do it, but then I don't. So I'm going to be talking about Rob Liefeld's Youngblood #1. Okay, and there's a reason I'm doing it because while this book is not great, it's far from the worst thing Rob Liefeld's ever made. But it leads to my absolute favorite thing that Rob Liefeld ever made, which was Youngblood #2. And I know a lot of people tend to shit on Youngblood #2 or whatever, but I liked it. To me, that was peak Liefeld, and then it was downhill from there, and he never recovered. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and we're going to start with, we know it's a flip book, so I'm going to start with what everyone looks at as being the first side of that flip book, which is the Youngblood home team, starring Shaft, Chapel, Combat, Die Hard, Vogue, and Bedrock. Okay, later to be known as Bedrock. I don't know. A lot of people tend to shit on this cover. I'm not going to. I like it. This is. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. All of the characters look pretty good. I know, like other people said, it was like like a jumble of colors and a mess or whatever. And in all honesty, I am not seeing it now. Yeah, we have the Liefeld trope of covering the feet up at the bottom of the page. Whatever. I don't even care about that. Feet are hard to draw. Uh, his anatomy is consistent here. This was the Rob Liefeld anatomy that we were used to. This is what we would normally get from him before it turned into some real god awful mess. Like maybe his anatomy here wasn't great, but what it is now is just the worst of the worst. But anyway, this is the cover to Youngblood #1, the first exciting issue of Youngblood #1. When we open this book, on the inside cover, we are given the list of characters for the Youngblood home team. I did something very similar to this in a comic that I drew, and I got it from Rob Liefeld. So it was something that he did that I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. And you kind of Liefeld didn't need to do it. He actually like introduces the characters in this, even if the introductions aren't great. We know who these people are, and it was unfortunately because one of the comics that I drew, the writer, like I would try to tell him where I'm seeing issues as I'm drawing it, try to give him a heads up that this is what's going on. And, this person's extremely busy. They have a lot of projects that they're doing, a lot of things they're handling. And I'm, I guess, the hired talent. So it's just shut up and do your job. So what I was trying to tell him was kind of dismissed. But when I finished the book and gave it to him, I knew that, once he read through it, he would see that throughout the entire book, like 30 some pages, not one character in the book had a name. So nobody refers to anybody by a name. Nobody is introduced. There are no names in the book. And to be perfectly honest with you, there were probably 20 some characters in that book that were introduced, and nobody knew who anybody was. So he immediately got back to me and he's like, hey, there's no names in this book. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I tried to tell you this earlier so that you could like rewrite it or do something. But, you said just, go ahead and do this or whatever. So I did the best I could with it, because when I'm doing the book, it's not just drawing. I'm penciling, inking, coloring, lettering. I'm doing it all. Okay. It's a tough task. It's a lot of work doing the job of 5 people for one book. But so he was like, well, is there any way we can fix this? And I instantly remembered what Liefeld did here with the interior cover of Youngblood, to introduce these characters, where you had this cool picture, and you had the names of all the characters listed on there. So it was perfect. So I did the same thing. I don't know how well it translated inside the book. I tried to put narrative captions introducing the characters, but I did use this on the interior, and I thought it was a good job. Or, it was a good idea. I really enjoyed that. But here we cut to Washington, D.C., 12:17 p.m. We have Shaft and his girlfriend, I believe, walking through a mall. That tells you how 90s this comic is, because malls still existed. And I know I'm going to get, somebody in the comments says, oh, malls still exist. Yeah, we know that. It's kind of just a dated joke. But they're walking through the mall when suddenly somebody yells out that there's like a shooter or something, that, security's like stop or whatever. And Shaft hears this and he tells his girlfriend Shelly to stay put. And it looks like he tackles some guy down an escalator and then kind of beats the fuck out of him. Because like I'm looking at this guy and he is bloody as hell at the bottom of that page there. And then we have a shooter up on a balcony, and Shaft realizes that. So he pulls a pen from his pocket and he throws it. And apparently it flies into, I'm going to say it flew into this guy's neck. Okay. It kind of looks like it maybe hit him in the face, maybe the eye or something. But because of like the gurgle that he says, I'm going to say it was the neck. But he does a weird kind of backflip off of there, because we got two different angles going two different directions, and I don't know, it had to be just the one guy, right? It can't be like two guys, because he only had the one pen. So it was the two guy, or one guy, that he knocks off of that balcony. That guy falls in the worst possible way into a fountain, where you see that his butt landed right on the edge. I guess maybe snapping his back in half. But Shaft goes over and, he apparently digs through the guy's pockets, even though that's not how it looks. But Shaft is like, no ID, no pulse, no answers. Damn it. So he'll never know who these random people are. And in all honesty, I don't believe we ever find out either. These were just random people who happen to have a gun and maybe going after Shaft. We're never going to get that answer. This is thrown away immediately, and then that is it. Even when the reporters come in, they're like, Shaft, who are these people you killed? And Shaft is just like, no comment, because I don't know. So, yeah. And then, of course, his beeper goes off. If you didn't think it was 90s enough with the mall, it's definitely 90s when you had a beeper. I remember that time. I hated beepers so fucking much. And this was the only time I remember in any of these comics that one of the superheroes had a beeper, which in my opinion makes sense, especially when you like work for the government. Okay. But Shaft is like, oops, there's a danger because my beeper's going off. So sorry about lunch, Shelly. I'll give you a call. And he runs off. And then we are introduced to Bedrock, who comes from Baltimore, Maryland. Okay. And that's his house. He's sitting there, I guess, eating a gigantic bowl of cereal. He has his mom there. I actually don't know what he's eating. Is he eating green ice cream? Is it green oatmeal? Is it pea soup? Would a young, like, I don't know, how old is he? 15, 16? Do they eat pea soup a lot? That's what kind of looks like he's eating. Or maybe some Ninja Turtle mutagen, something like that. That's, the color job there. I think Brian Murray could have said, hey, I can make this 100 different colors. Why don't I make it toxic green so that everybody questions exactly what Bedrock is eating? Okay. And of course his beeper goes off and he's like, Mom, may I be excused to go fight evil? And the mother's like, sure, honey, just be back by bedtime or whatever. And he's like, okay, thanks. And he runs off. Then we're introduced to Die Hard, who just, I guess, sits in some kind of recharger. Sits there just waiting until he's needed. And then, of course, like his alert goes off and he says, I am needed, which I think was, pretty obvious, but he flies off. And then for the worst introduction right here, I know what he was going for. I don't feel like it was pulled off. The dialogue is incredibly cheesy. But we're at Arlington, Virginia, 1:11 p.m. So, much later in the afternoon here, that Chapel is waking up next to this woman because of his beeper is going off, and she's just like, "Can 5 more minutes?" He's like, "No promises. Leave your number." Right? And it's like, I mean, I guess we're never gonna know if she actually left a number, because again, this is never followed up on or anything. This was just an introduction to show you the Chapel does not give a fuck. Okay. Remember also later on, that we discovered a chapel was given AIDS by the government, and he's just there sleeping with that woman. Can we say that Chapel is probably the most horrible hero in existence? And he's part of the new generation of superheroes. Okay. I just feel like I have to point it out. And we did not know this at this time. And I'm pretty sure that Liefeld didn't know it at the time either. But yeah, it comes off as that much worse now. And then we have Vogue. It's Washington, D.C., and it's 6:23 p.m. I can't understand why everybody is getting beeped at such different times. Do they not have like an alert all coming from this government headquarters to reach out to Youngblood? Like everywhere we saw them, it should be around the same time. It shouldn't be an hour difference here and an hour difference there, or 6 to 7 hours difference here. They should all be alerted at the same time. It's something that makes sense. It doesn't make sense that everybody got called in at a different time. Why are they getting beeped to begin with? Okay, but Vogue is just flipping through the city in full superhero gear. I don't know if she ever wears anything else or if she ever takes that makeup off. I've never seen it, at least not in the main Youngblood title. But she's like, I'm not at their beck and call. I'll get there when I get there. Okay. And again, you were selected to be in the government's top superhero team. And I'm just not sure why or how. I mean, again, I say that Youngblood #2 is my favorite Liefeld work. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but there were things that took place in there. There was a semblance of a story forming or something like that. We don't really get that in any other Liefeld book, and we never get any kind of conclusion. We never get a satisfying ending. We never get information. We never get characterization. We never get anything that any other comic provides. So it's just very weird to me. Anyway, I could trail off there and then be on this for hours just talking about this, but for her to be so dismissive of being called in, but she's supposed to be very patriotic. At least that's what her trading card says. So I don't know. But we are now in Youngblood headquarters where Shaft is seeing Photon. And he's like, oh, so we get the pleasure of your company tonight, Photon? And Photon's just like, sir, with a question mark, because he's like, did you really just fucking do that? Were you really just an asshole to me? Because he has the question mark on the end because he's confused. Okay. Oh yeah. Why is Shaft such a dick? Okay. And then we get this, I think, pretty damn cool shot of all of the Youngblood home team here. But he's telling Vogue that she's late. I don't know what time it was for everybody to meet. If they're getting beeped, are they getting beeped with a time that shows up on the beeper? It's like, hey, be here by, 4:00 or something like that. Chapel at 1:11 gets a beep, and he immediately takes a shower, puts on all his gear in front of the girl, and he's there to go. Okay. So I don't know. It's very weird. Because I was never able to determine the time or anything, but I do think that this shot of all of Youngblood at the top there is just awesome. I actually really like it. So the woman, there's a woman at a control panel that says there's a request for assistance coming in, and Shaft is like, what's the situation? So here is where it gets confusing again. They were called in for nothing. So then why did it matter if Vogue was late? Why did it matter that anybody was there? They all gathered where Chapel rode his motorcycle into this command center, which is fucking hilarious at every degree. But, he had to do it apparently because that's one of his, character traits or whatever. Is I will ride my motorcycle anywhere. I'm surprised it wasn't in the bedroom earlier with him and this, random woman. But anyway, the woman says that there's a request for assistance, again, making it, so that it made no sense why anybody was called in. They were called in for something different, and now they're just here when this call for assistance comes in. Shaft is like, what's the situation? And this woman is like, one of our transport vehicles is under attack. ID's coming in now. So a transport vehicle's under attack. They say here it's strong arm engage of the 4, okay? So that's an enemy thing where I guess there's 4 of them, okay? And they call themselves the 4. And that's probably also basically it. Like, what is their motivation? Why are they attacking this transport vehicle? What is that transport vehicle transporting? I don't know. I don't know if we ever find that out. I guess we'll find out as we go along. It's been a while since I read this, and to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of going through it. As I'm reviewing it, I'm kind of rereading it, even though I still kind of remember everything because I read it so many times. So Shaft is like, let's move out, and of course, they show up here at this transport vehicle, which has a news helicopter floating over it, and we have the four here ripping the doors off of this transport vehicle truck or whatever. We have a bunch of police officers all in the same pose at the bottom of the page here, which looks weird because they look more like synchronized dancers than police officers. Also, can I just say, again, I made a video earlier about how Liefeld has never seen a shoe before in his life. I'll say the same thing about a jacket. If you don't know how to draw a jacket, if you've never seen a jacket before, if you're not going to try to put some effort into drawing a jacket, don't draw a jacket. Police officers don't always wear jackets. You could have put just shirts on these guys, and it could have worked out better. Or it could have been some kind of military force where you didn't have to draw a jacket at all. It could have been some weird uniform or something. But when you draw these jackets, they just look so weird. Liefeld and jackets don't mix. They're the worst jackets drawn in comic books, okay? But again, here we have, I think this is Gage. Gage goes and throws or rips the door off of this transport vehicle. I think that's what they were doing. Yeah, they were rescuing the other two of the four. Okay, so two of them were captured. It was Deadlock and Starbright. And then, outside of the truck here that is pulling the rescue is that we have Gage, and I don't know the other guy's name. Maybe we'll find that out in a second. I'm not seeing it there. But basically they rescue them just in time for Die Hard to come down and punch the fuck out of Gage and probably take him out of the fight. We get a lot of that weird yarn looking Youngblood or Liefeld blood that he does. For as much as Liefeld loves blood, you think he'd learn how to draw that one, but I've never liked the weird yarn, strips of blood or whatever that like flies out of a character's mouths that Liefeld draws. It just seems weird to me. But again, they're being, Youngblood is there now attacking. Die Hard takes Gage out a second time with a nice punch. I like this page. I think the artwork on this page is pretty damn good. Die Hard is saying that I've been waiting for this day, and this time you won't be so lucky. So I'm assuming that he's beat the hell out of Gage before and let him off easy the last time. I don't know. And then we are treated to a page of Youngblood, the force of Youngblood here. It's a double page spread again with police officers with, I just don't know what's going on here with their arms. Why they're always like standing in this position or whatever. The jackets are horrible. But, everybody else here looks pretty damn cool. I actually like this Bedrock before he becomes this gigantic monster or whatever. The motorcycle might be a little wonky, but you know what? Drawing a motorcycle is hard. I'll even cop to that one. This picture's not bad, but that is the end of the first issue of the first part of the first issue of Youngblood. Okay, so that's weird to me because we get this tiny little action scene with Shaft in the beginning, taking somebody out. We get a little introduction to all the characters as they get beat and brought into the headquarters for almost no reason. And then it's like, oh, you set up an action plot where these villains are rescuing other villains. Let's send our team out there to stop them. And we got like 2 punches from Die Hard, and then a splash page of people getting ready to fight, and then it's over. That's it. It's done. We don't get a continuation of that. That's it. It's just over now. That just seems so weird to me. If this is your introduction to these characters, this is your first issue, you kind of want everybody to do something, and really the only two people that did were Shaft and Die Hard out of all of the characters and everything. So just I don't know, it just seems weird to me that that's how that would have ended. It's a nice splash page, I like it. I have no notes here when it comes to, I mean, we got our regular Liefeld tropes of these weird guns or whatever, but this is, again, peak Liefeld, in my opinion, right? Like, he was taking his time and producing the best artwork he could at the time. Uh, there were no rush jobs here with what he was doing, and I think it was pretty awesome. It's just that, it's a weird note to end on. It just seems like that's when the comic just started, happening. And then you're like, okay, I'm done. All right, so I'm going to cut it here. I'm not going to do the second part right now. I'm going to save that for a second video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know you've seen reviews on this issue before, so I had to do my own. I hope you can forgive me. But again, my name is Bob. I am the creator of Ghost Girl, currently working on bringing that book out. If you liked this video, please hit like. It helps my channel grow, and I'm a comic book artist trying to get his name out there. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe. I want to thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.